Welcome to Export Digest, your #1 program that periscopes the non-oil export sector, highlighting the opportunities therein and exploring strategies to exploit these opportunities. At Export Digest, we also seek to identify and proffer solutions to challenges in the export sector in such a way that practitioners and policymakers alike can craft a way forward in improving on their respective roles. I am Femi Boyede. Today, we continue our navigation of the roadmap to operating a successful export business. We shall be looking at how exporters move commodities or products to the desired country of trade and the logistics involved. When preparing to ship a product overseas, the exporter needs to be aware of packing, labeling, documentation, and insurance requirements. Because the goods are being shipped by unknown carriers to distant customers, the exporters must be sure to follow all shipping requirements to help ensure that the merchandise is packed correctly so that it arrives in good condition. He must ensure that the items are labeled correctly so that the goods are handled properly and arrive on time at the right place. They must also be documented correctly to meet local and foreign government requirements, as well as have proper collection standards. Furthermore, the goods must be insured against damage, loss, and pilferage, and in some cases, delay. Because of this variety of considerations involved in the physical export process, most exporters, both new and experienced, rely on an international freight forwarder to perform these services. The international freight forwarder acts as agent for the exporter in moving cargo to the overseas destinations. These agents are familiar with the import rules and regulations of foreign countries, methods of shipping, government export regulations, and the documents connected with foreign trade. Freight forwarders can also assist with an order from the start by advising the exporter of the freight costs, port charges, consular fees, cost of special documentation, and insurance costs, as well as their handling fees, all of which help in preparing price quotations. Freight forwarders may also recommend the type of packing for best protecting the merchandise in transit. They can arrange to have the merchandise packed at the port or containerized. The cost for their services is a legitimate export cost that should be figured into the price charged to the customer. When the order is ready to ship, freight forwarders should be able to review the letter of credit, commercial invoices, packing lists, and so on to ensure that everything is in order. They can also reserve the necessary space on board an ocean vessel if the exporter so desires. If the cargo arrives at the port of export and the exporter has not already done so, freight forwarders may make the necessary arrangement with customs brokers to ensure that the goods comply with customs export documentation regulations. In addition, they may have the goods delivered to the carrier in time for loading. They may also prepare the bill of lading and any special required documentation. After shipment, they forward all documents directly to the customer or to the paying bank if desired. One of the most critical yet most commonly ignored segments of the export value chain is the activity of the freight forwarder. In most cases, exporters either forget, ignore, or imagine that they cannot afford the services of one, and the consequences are usually grievous. The freight forwarder, also known as the forwarding agent, does handle a very big responsibility in the export value chain. By definition, Wikipedia calls a freight forwarder, where you call that a very big name, non-vessel operating common carrier, NVOCC, non-vessel operating common carrier. He is the person or company that organizes shipments for individuals or corporations to get goods from the manufacturer or producers to a market, a customer, or a final port of destination. How does he do this? What are the responsibilities involved? One common error is to imagine that the freight forwarder is the same thing as a clearing agent. In terms of export, you use the services of a freight forwarder. When you are the importer, or your interlocutor on the other side is the one who uses a clearing agent. The simple difference between them is that a freight forwarder does not necessarily have to be a licensed customs agent. So back to our freight forwarder. Why is he so important in the value chain? It is the freight forwarder, first and foremost, who helps the exporter to identify and bring up a list of vessels here implying ships that go to the destination market. He obtains their timetable, and therefore it is the responsibility of the freight forwarder to book for a space on the ship. That might sound a little bit funny, but the truth is that you need to book for a space on the ship just like a guest would book for a room in a hotel when he is going to a particular town. So once the freight forwarder has booked the space on the vessel, it is also his responsibility to inform all the other agencies in the port that have to do with the shipment, pre-shipment inspection, for security, for health, for hygiene, for confirmation purposes. It is the freight forwarder who interfaces with this agency. For example, it is the freight forwarder's business to obtain your phytosanitary certificate in terms of shipping plants or raw agricultural commodities. It is also the freight forwarder who supervises first the cleaning of the container. If there is need for fumigation, he ensures that the container is fumigated. The freight forwarder advises you, depending on the perishability of your good, if you need a refrigerated container or just an ordinary container. He advises on the temperatures at which your goods must be maintained on the high seas until the final destination. Because it is the freight forwarder who booked for the space on the vessel, when the vessel has sailed, it is the freight forwarder who also goes to the shipping line to ensure that he gets your bill of lading, and also goes to the other agencies like the customs export desk. It is the freight forwarder who goes there to ensure that your shipping documents have been endorsed, you have an SGD, simply put, single goods declaration, as a confirmation that export has taken place. By all means, a very important component. Last time on this program, we explained the importance of documentation. It is the freight forwarder who prepares the packing list. The packing list that must confirm if what is in your container are just simple jute bags. He says it contains X number of jute bags. If it is a mixed container and you have cartons, for example, of Knorr cubes, you have boxes of Indomie, you have bags of Gari, he's the one who ensures that they are properly labeled and that the list on the sheet, that is the packing list, actually tallies with the content in terms of boxes, in terms of packaging, in terms of labeling. So you understand that if your importer must pay you and pay you speedily, he needs to have an accurate documentation that is only in this case prepared by the freight forwarder. Must I appoint a freight forwarder as an exporter? The answer is a very big yes. If you want to get it done right, in actual fact, because you do not have the competence for all of this, there is no point running around from pillar to post. Where can I find a freight forwarder? Let me break it down a little bit. The same way that you will find an agbero in the motor park, the freight forwarders are always around the seaport, and of course the more versatile, the leading ones of course have corporate identities that you can Google out just by simply entering "I'd like to find a freight forwarder." Do freight forwarders have a customs license? Yes, if they want, but it is not an imperative. Of course, they also have an association that regulates their operation. By all means, if you must export and export successfully and profitably, you must ensure that you appoint a freight forwarder who knows his onion and who knows the procedures. Specific marking and labeling is used on export shipping cartons and containers to meet shipping regulations, ensure proper handling, conceal the identity of the contents, and help receivers identify shipments. The overseas buyer usually specifies export marks that should appear on the cargo for easy identification by receivers. Many markings may be needed for shipment. Exporters need to put the following markings on the cartons to be shipped. Shipper's mark. Country of origin, that is the exporter's country. Weight marking in pounds and in kilograms. Number of packages and size of cases in inches and centimeters. Handling marks, international pictorial symbols. Cautionary markings such as "this side up" or "use no hooks" in English and in the language of the country of destination. Port of entry. Labels for hazardous materials, that is, universal symbols adapted by the International Maritime Organization. Do note that legibility is extremely important to prevent misunderstandings and delays in shipping. Letters are generally stenciled onto packages and containers in waterproof ink. Markings should appear on 3 faces of the container, preferably on the top, on the 2 ends or the 2 sides. Also, old markings must be completely removed.
Hello, I'm Denise.
My name is Yinka Titiloye. I'm a farmer. Welcome to the Itagro Model Farm.
I'm Craig Waters from Oklahoma State University.
Watch Export Digest.
Watch Export Digest.
Watch Export Digest.
In addition to port marks, customer identification code and indication of origin, The marks should include the package number, gross and net weights, and dimensions. If more than one package is being shipped, the total number of packages in the shipment should be included in the markings. The exporter should also include any special handling instructions on the package. It is a good idea to repeat these instructions in the language of the country of destination. Standard international shipping and handling symbols should also be used. Exporters may find that customs regulations regarding freight labeling are strictly enforced. For example, most countries require that the country of origin be clearly labeled on each imported package. Most freight forwarders and export packing specialists can supply necessary information regarding specific regulations. The Nigeria Customs Service facilitates trade as one of its functions. Beyond this, and as the gatekeeper of Nigeria's borders, the Customs Service checks illegal commercial activities and illegal international trade. The Customs Service, in this case the Nigerian Customs Service, is one of the more important trade support institutions. There is no way you will engage in official international trade, be it import or export, without having a relationship with the Customs Service. To put it quite simply, the Customs Services regulates the marine environment and the supervises on behalf of government what goes out of a country and what comes into it. In most countries of the world, the Customs Service has become the most versatile trade facilitator. I put emphasis on the word facilitator deliberately because they encourage the speedy turnaround of goods, whether being imported or exported. The Customs Services is regarded as the facilitator of trade because they ensure the speedy turnaround of imports and exports. Nigeria Customs Service has a higher responsibility placed on their shoulder because they are one of the leading revenue collection agencies for the government of Nigeria. Custom processing centers are becoming digital. In Dubai, for example, a few years ago, they used to beat their chest that they could clear 100 containers of stuff within 14 seconds. Nigeria Customs Service does have a very important role in ensuring the easy shipment of goods out of Nigeria for the government of Nigeria. For more information, should these details be more than you can grab in just 30 minutes of this episode of Export Digest, call the numbers showing on your screen now. We will be glad to set you on the pathway to profitable export business. As you know, in the Corporate Affairs Commission segment of this program, we get enlightened on key activities and programs of the Commission's interventions that help us operate in an organized business environment in Nigeria. Let us hear the Corporate Affairs Director, Mr. Churchill Williams, as he takes us through one recent development.
The issue of annual returns is very vital to the Companies and Allied Matters Act. It informs the Commission of the viability of a company and its status as a going concern. You see, every company is expected to pay annual returns 18 months after registration. And that is to enable the Commission to have proper information or adequate information about your company for so many reasons. Let me say at this point that most of the times, banks and other organizations too would want to write that to the Corporate Affairs Commission or want to know the status of a company in this country. Without the annual returns, we will not be able to provide adequate information. In some cases, you want to obtain a facility from a bank, and so the bank would want to get some information from the Corporate Affairs Commission to confirm if the company is even existing. And so without we providing the proper information about that company, you might not even get that facility. And so paying annual returns helps the companies to obtain what they want from some of these organizations, to even from some of the security organizations or from embassies. You want to obtain a visa, they will write a letter to say, look, what is the status of this company? We'll write back to say this company is registered and these are the details. And so it is in the interest of companies to pay annual returns because there's a lot they can gain. We believe that you are in company because you want to make profit. The problem here is that most of the times people come to register companies because they have a promise from a government, or maybe the brother has become a governor of a state or has been appointed a minister or a commissioner, and he has promised to give them a contract, and so they rush into the CAC to want to register a company. And so at times, immediately after they execute that contract, the company they registered has died. And that is not helpful to the economy of this country. In fact, it's not even helping the commission because you might have a large number of companies in our database as registered. And in the real sense of it, most of them are dead companies. And so it is very necessary for companies to pay annual returns so that we'll have, a template, proper information about these companies. And it is in their own interest.
Let us now take our question of the week. Remember, the first correct entry gets a prize. This time, courtesy of Jaraja E-Commerce Nigeria Limited. Wow, we have all too quickly come to the end of yet another scintillating episode of Export Digest. Thank you so much for staying with us. We believe that you are getting real value from your faithful following of the program as we strive to always expand your knowledge and enhance your readiness to export. Remember, you can watch this particular episode and others before it on our YouTube channel, youtube.com/Export Digest. As usual, we will appreciate your comments, observations, and contributions as we continue on our march towards making Nigeria a viable exporting nation and lead our viewers into the hidden secrets of export treasures. Our channels of communication are open and now showing on your screen. Many thanks to our sponsors for their contributions to the development of Export Digest. We also invite you to showcase your businesses, your goods and services on this program, and by so doing, you will be helping us immensely to pay for our airtime and cost of production while expanding the corporate mileage that you get for your brand, products and services. Join us same time on this same station next week for another eye-opening package of Export Digest. I am Femi Boyede saying, see you then, and God bless Nigeria.